Hello my dear children, nice to meet you with an interesting science lesson. I hope that you are ready for the lesson with your writing book, textbook and the pencil. Today we have got to discuss a very important topic. Do you know that billions of tons of food are being spoiled and wasted within 1 year? On the other hand, millions of people are suffering from hunger without food even at this moment. According to Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, they say that estimated 1.3 billions of tons of food are being spoiled and wasted globally in each year. This is a big wastage. Can't we prevent this wastage? Yes, we can't prevent it, but we can minimize it. We can minimize this wastage. So, today we are going to learn how to minimize the wastage of food. That is known as food preservation. So, our topic is food preservation, that is unit 13 of your textbook. Unit 13, food preservation. Actually, I would like to explain you what the food preservation is. Food preservation is a process of making the food stay longer by controlling artificially the factors that are affecting the growth of microorganisms. That is known as a food preservation. Now, in this lesson we are going to emphasize, we are going to learn about these 4 subtopics. First one is need of food preservation. Second one is food preservation methods. What are the different methods used to preserve the food items? They can be traditional methods and they can be modern methods. Then food preservatives. What do you mean by preservatives? Preservatives are a kind of chemical substances that are added to the food. Advantages and disadvantages of food preservation. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of doing food preservation? Right. I have got something to show you. Here you can see there is a fresh sample of tomatoes. You can see there is a brilliant red color. The sample is very fresh and the smell is good, and if I taste this, the taste also will be very fresh. But what can you say about this sample of tomatoes? Right? It is a spoiled or rotten sample. Then you can observe that the color is changed, and when I touch it, the texture is soft, and I can't taste this because it is spoiled. You know that we can't taste the spoiled food. So, here are the differences between fresh food sample and spoiled food sample, right. I think now you can understand what are the differences between fresh food and spoiled food. There are certain differences. Let us see. Here I have given you some other examples. On the screen you can see fresh meat and fresh bread. Both food items are fresh. They have fresh color, their taste is fresh and everything is fresh. Look at the other pictures. What can you see in these pictures? Yes, you can see the meat is rotten or spoiled. It is not so suitable for our consumption. It is unfit, not suitable for our consumption. And the bread, in the second picture you can see the bread has mold grown on it. Let us see some other examples. A fresh sample of fruits, a spoiled sample of fruits, a fresh sample of milk and a coagulated sample of milk. Then you can observe that we can consume the fresh food items, but we can't consume the spoiled food items. We can't consume the spoiled food items. Now, you can list out the changes that occur in a food item when it is rotten. I explain you using that 2 samples of tomatoes. Fresh sample of tomatoes had got certain characteristics, while the rotten sample of tomatoes had another characteristics. What are the changes occur in a food item when it is rotten or spoiled? Let us see one by one. Color change, odor change, odor means smell, smell change, texture change and taste change. And what can you say about the nutritional value of a spoiled food? The nutritional value also change. Now, here are the changes that occur in a food item when it is rotten or spoiled. The color, odor, texture, taste and the nutritional value are changed. Reasons for the spoilage of food. Now, we are going to learn about different reasons for the spoilage of food. There may be various reasons, but they can be categorized into 2 main reasons. Number 1, food spoils due to the action of microorganisms, especially fungi and bacteria. Now, I am going to explain you what the microorganisms are. I think in grade 6 you have learnt about microorganisms, you know different things about microorganisms. As a whole, we can say that the microorganisms are invisible. They are microscopic. We can't observe them through our naked eye, but they are doing a big job in the spoilage of food. Microorganisms, then let us see the other reason. Macroorganisms. The first type of organisms is microorganisms, second type is macroorganisms. Actually, macroorganisms can be observed through our naked eye. The examples are weevils and grain boss. Right? I have given you only 2 examples. You may know some other answers. Now, let us see why the food preservation to be done. There should be an aim of food preservation. First one is reduction of food spoilage. When I started the lesson, I think you can remember I said you that there is a big wastage of food in our world. It should be minimized by food preservation. So, the first thing is reduction of food spoilage. Prevention of food poisoning, right. So, when we consume bad or rotten food, it will lead severe food poisoning, right. We get different types of diseases by the consumption of rotten or bad food. So, it can be prevented by food preservation. Let us see the third one. Use of excess food by processing to use in off season, right. You know there are certain types of food, they can be consumed within 1 or 2 seasons in 1 year, right. The excess food or surplus can be used in off seasons also by preserving them. We can keep them for a long time. It is very important. Now, I am going to talk about different methods of food preservation, right. In the past also people used different types of methods to preserve food. At present also we are using those type of food preservation methods with minor changes, right. Methods of food preservation, the food can be preserved by preventing microorganisms getting to the food. Now, I explained you that the microorganisms contribute a lot in the spoilage of food. By preventing the microorganisms getting to the food, we can preserve the food item. We can prevent the spoilage. It is very important. Then, controlling water content in the food to minimize the microbial action. Controlling the water content in the food to minimize microbial action. Here I want to say you that the microorganisms need certain conditions to grow. First thing is they need a favorable substrate with nutrients. Then they need moisture. Then they need a favorable temperature and a favorable pH value. There are certain factors required by microorganisms. So, we can preserve the food items by controlling those factors. It is important. So, that is why it is given in this way. Controlling water content in the food to minimize microbial action. In the food items there is water. If we can control the amount of water in the food item, we can minimize the microbial action. So, we can remove water from the food item, then the microbes or microorganisms are destroyed. It is a good method. Next one, I said you that the temperature is very important for the growth of microorganisms. I think you can remember. Controlling temperature of the food to minimize the microbial action. How can we control the temperature? Yes, we can control the temperature in two methods. We can increase the temperature. If not, the opposite is we can decrease the temperature. There are two methods of controlling the temperature. We can increase the temperature or we can decrease the temperature. Controlling temperature of the food to minimize microbial action. Preventing the damages caused to food by macroorganisms. You know that weevils, grain borers are macroorganisms that cause damage to the food items. So, that can be minimized and we can preserve the food items, preventing the damages caused to the food by macroorganisms. That is also one method of food preservation. Preventing the damages caused to the food while transport in harvest. You know, from harvest to the market, there are number of instances where the food items can be damaged. The food items are subjected to cuts, bruises, lacerations, then scratches and bumps, right. So, those can be avoided. If we can avoid those damages, we can preserve the food items, because we know that the microorganisms are readily growing. They like to grow on damaged food. So, if we can prevent the damages caused to the food, so while transport in the harvest, we can preserve the food items. I think you got the idea, right. Now, we have come to another topic, food preservative methods. What are the methods used to preserve the food items? We can use different methods to preserve the food items even at home. They can be divided into two groups, right. Let us see. Traditional methods. Traditional methods. So, by the name you can understand that the methods are used in the past, but it does not mean that these methods are not used at present. These traditional methods of preserving food are used at present also with minor changes. They are used at present. Here are the traditional methods of preserving food items. Number 1, drying. You all know this method, drying. Number 2, salting. Number 3, immersing in honey and keeping under dry sand, right. Once again, let us see the traditional methods of preserving food items: drying, salting, immersing in honey and keeping under dry sand. So, you know that the food items like fish, meat are subjected to drying. Then the removal of water preserves the food item. In salting, salt is acting as an food preservative acting as a food preservative there. So, salting is also used as a food preservative method. Then immersion in honey, this was mostly used by Asian people, especially food items like meat and fruits are immersed in honey. Then keeping under dry sand. Now, let us see modern methods of food preservation. What are the modern methods of food preservation? First one is drying by solar heater. Drying by solar heater. Solar heat, the heat of the sun is used to dry the food materials. Then dryers. Third one, stove drying, and the food substances are dried up in stoves. A spray drying, that is widely used in the production of milk powder. And freezing, the best method of preserving food items while controlling the temperature. Deep freezing and concentration. Let us see again drying by solar heater, dryers, stove drying, spray drying, freezing, deep freezing and concentration. Right. Now, we have discussed about different methods of food preservation. The methods can be grouped as traditional and modern methods. Now, let us see in detail. Right. I am explaining the lesson and you are listening the lesson. Automatically you have become passive listeners. So, I do not like that. So, I have given you a task. There is a task sheet on the screen. Look at the table given on the screen. You can observe that the table has 3 columns in it. In the first column, you have to write the method of preservation. I know that you have got your writing books in your hand. Then you have to write the reason for food preservation, how the food is preserved in that method. Then you have to write the food items that are preserved by those methods. I think you got the idea. Here is the table. You can complete the table when I am explaining the lesson. Right. Let us see one by one. Firstly, I have taken the traditional methods of food preservation. First one is drying. Drying inhibits. What do you mean by inhibits? Inhibits means reduces. Drying inhibits the growth of bacteria, yeast and mold through the removal of water. You know, water is contained in the food items. When the water is removed from a food item, it can be preserved for a certain time. So, that is done in drying. The drying can be done by using the solar heat as well as dryers can be used. Now, I have given you some pictures where the drying is done. The first picture is showing you how the fish is dried up, then chilies and paddy. Salting, right. I said you that this is also a traditional method of preserving food item. Salt is a substance that can be widely found. Then we can take salt as a food preservative. Salt preserves food by drawing water out of the food, preventing bacterial growth and preventing a spoilage of food by reducing the amount of water available to bacteria. Can you understand? So, you have to understand it by reading it in the next time. Salt preserves food by drawing water out of the food, preventing bacterial growth and preventing a spoilage of food by reducing the amount of water available to bacteria. You know that salt can draw the water out from the food item. Then the food item is preserved as there is not sufficient amount of water for the growth of microorganisms. Let us see the next one. Smoking. Smoking. I have given you a picture there how smoking is done to preserve fish. One of the oldest methods of preserving food. This is known as one of the oldest methods of preserving food because it was used in the past also. Removing moisture from food helps to prevent bacterial and fungal growth in the food. You know that while smoking, the heat is provided to the food, then it removes the moisture from the food item and it helps to prevent the bacterial and fungal growth in the food. Smoke helps to keep bacteria carrying insects away during the drying process. Smoke helps to keep bacteria carrying insects because when these insects are coming to the food can get spoiled quickly due to their action. So, the smoke helps them to keep away, right. I have not mentioned that point here. Smoke contains certain type of chemicals. Those chemicals are acting as food preservatives. Right now, I describe you how smoking is used to preserve the food items. Next one, keeping under dry sand, a traditional method. We can preserve the food items like lime, jack seeds and ginger by using this method. You know, the sand can regulate the humidity. Humidity means the amount of moisture and it keeps excess moisture away from the food and hence the microbial growth on the food item inhibits. Now, that is the way of preserving food items by keeping under the dry sand. Immersing in honey. I said you earlier, this is a method used even in the past. Food items like meat and fruits are immersed in honey. Honey is a concentrated solution. Honey acts as a way to preserve fruits and meat by drawing out moisture. Honey can draw out the moisture from the food. Honey acts as an antibacterial substance and it keeps food items away from exposing to oxygen. When a certain food item is immersed in honey, it is not exposed to the oxygen, right? Because you know the microorganisms need oxygen for their growth. So, when it is kept or when it is immersed in honey, the food items are not exposed to oxygen, then the food items can be preserved. Right. Now, we have already discussed about all the methods of traditional food preservation. Then, now we are going to talk about modern methods of preserving food items. First one is solar heat dryers. I think you can see a picture of a solar heat dryer. Solar heat dryers are used to dry food. More pure and dry food can be obtained within a shorter period of time. Food items specially preserved by solar heat dryers are chilies, fruits and vegetables. Actually, there is a closed condition prevailing in a solar heat dryer. So, the insects and other microorganisms can't enter to the food. So, the food is more pure and the waste materials are not added to the food. This is a good method of preserving food items and it is considered as a modern method. Spray drying. A spray drying is a food preservation method that is mostly used in the production of milk powder. You know, milk powder is produced by dehydrating liquid milk. Milk powder is produced by dehydrating liquid milk. So, spray drying is a process which is specially used in the production of milk powder. Spray drying is a method of producing dry powder from liquid by rapidly drying with the hot gas, right. So, a hot gas is sent to the cylinder and liquid milk is sprayed onto a heated up cylinder and the liquid milk is converted to milk powder. It is converted to milk powder. This method is widely used in the production of milk powder. So, if you have ever visited a milk powder production factory, you may have seen this spray drying machine, right. Here I have given you a picture. What is it? Yes, you all know it. This is mostly found in our houses, right. That is the modern method of preserving food items at our home. It is considered as the domestic method of preserving the food items. It is known as the domestic method. We preserve the food items domestically using this method. Refrigerator. I think you know that a refrigerator has two parts. One is freezer, the other one is deep freezer. Two different types of temperatures are maintained in a refrigerator. Freezing. The growth of microorganisms is controlled by reducing the temperature. You know, the microorganisms require a favorable temperature for their growth. The growth of the microorganisms is controlled by reducing the temperature. When the temperature is reduced, they can't obtain the favorable temperature, then they destroy. The temperature control is done in two methods. Number one, freezing. Freezing requires a temperature of 40 degrees of Celsius. Then vegetables, fruits and milk products are kept in a freezer. But through your experiences, you know that fish, meat and ice cream, the food items like fish, meat and ice cream are kept in deep freezer. Inside the deep freezer, the temperature should be maintained at a value of minus 18 degrees of Celsius. I think looking at the diagram you can understand all these things. Now let us move on to the next one. Concentration. I have given you several diagrams of concentrated food like jam, cordial, then chutney. Those are concentrated food. What do you mean by concentration? While concentrating, the moisture in food items is removed. The moisture in food items is removed while concentrating. And the food items could be preserved for longer periods of time using this method. You know, you can buy jam, chutney and cordial from the market and we can keep them for a very long time, long periods of time using this method. Sometimes the food additives used in the concentration process can destroy the microorganisms in food. I am sure that you have read the labels on these chutney, jam and cordial bottles. It is given that they contain several types of food additives. The food additives that are used in concentration can act as food preservatives. So, that is the way of preserving food items by concentration. Right. I have given you a picture on the screen. Do you know this person? Yes. He is a French scientist, Louis Pasteur. The specialty, the invention of this person is pasteurization. The French scientist Louis Pasteur invented pasteurization. Let us see what the pasteurization is. Pasteurization was originally used as a way of preventing wine and beer from souring. Right? that was originally used as a way of preventing wine and beer from souring, but after that it was used to preserve other types of food. Pasteurization is heat treatment process that destroys pathogenic microorganisms in certain food and beverages. What do you mean by pathogenic microorganisms? Pathogenic microorganisms are the microorganisms that can cause diseases, right? It causes minimal changes in nutritional value of food items. Pasteurization is important because it causes minimum damage to the nutritional value of food items. It causes minimum damage to the nutritional value of food items. That is why pasteurization is considered as an important method. Here I have given you several types of food that can be preserved by pasteurization: milk, then milk products, dried fruits, cream, eggs, fruit juices. Now, these are the food items that can be preserved by pasteurization. Now, there is a difference between pasteurization and sterilization, right? Okay, let us see what the sterilization is. Sterilization is the process of killing or removing bacteria and all other forms of living microorganisms. Once again, let us read it. A sterilization is the process of killing or removing bacteria and all other forms of living microorganisms. You know that the food items contain microorganisms. Unlike pasteurization, in the process of sterilization, almost all the microorganisms are destroyed. So, the food items that are preserved through sterilization can be kept for a long time, right? It is very important. You have to keep that in your mind. Okay. Sterilization helps to reduce the food poisoning by preserving food items, right? I said you earlier, consumption of bad or spoiled food can lead to severe food poisoning. It is prevented by sterilization as all the pathogenic organisms are destroyed in the process of sterilization. Right. Now, I am going to explain you about food additives. Let us see what are known as food additives. Food additives are the substances, actually they are chemical substances added to preserve flavor and enhance its taste, appearance or other qualities. Let us read it again. Food additives are the substances added to preserve flavor or enhance its taste, appearance or other qualities. Then you may have a problem whether these food additives are good for our health. Actually, most of the food additives are recommended, but overdosage, if the food additives are added to the food without recommended doses, it will be harmful. But food additives are, as a whole, food additives are not harmful. Actually, food additives are not naturally present in a food item. Food additives can be divided into natural food additives and artificial food additives. Here I have given you the functions of food additives. The first function is, we know that is why we are adding food additives to a food item, to preserve the food item. Then reduce the wastage of food. By adding the food additives artificially, we can preserve the food item and it will be a reason to reduce the wastage. Then to control the pH value of food. Why the pH value of a food item to be controlled? The reason? Yes, I explained you earlier. The microorganisms require a favorable value of pH. Microorganisms require a favorable pH value. By controlling the pH value, the microorganisms can be destroyed. Then, by adding the food additives, we can improve the nutritional value. We can improve the nutritional quality of a food. Then, it decreases the risk of contamination by microbes. The diseases or other harmful effects caused by the microorganisms are prevented. Now, those are the functions of food additives, right? I have given you different types of food additives, right? Sometimes they can be colors, sometimes they can be flavors, sometimes they can be antioxidants and thickness also. I have given you some examples also. Riboflavin and carotene are used as colors, right? They are used as colorings. Then glucose and saccharin, they are specially used as flavors. Then citric acid and carotene are used as antioxidants. Then pectin is a food additive that is used as a thickener. Then sodium metabisulfite and benzoic acid are used as preservatives. Here I have given you two pictures of benzoic acid and citric acid. You may have not seen them. Right. If you can, it is better to take down these things. Synthetic food additives, I have given you some examples. Sodium metabisulfite, all are chemicals. Then sodium nitrate, acetic acid, sodium chloride, it is known as a normal salt, and benzoic acid and sodium bisulfite. Here are the synthetic food additives that are mostly used in the preservation of food. Right. In our day-to-day life, we use different types of preserved food, right? You may have experiences. Then some food items can be directly consumed. Some food items can be directly consumed. We can open the lid and then we can have it. But there are certain food items need to be prepared. They need an instant preparation. And there are certain type of food items, they need to be cooked. Although they are preserved, we have to cook them and eat. Let us see. There are certain type of food items can be directly consumed. They can be directly consumed like chutney, jam, sauce and fruit drinks. You can open the lid and you can have it. There are certain type of preserved food items, they need to be cooked like dry fish and grains. They need to be cooked although they are preserved. And the food items like meatballs, sausages, noodles, macaroni and coconut milk powder. These food items have been produced through a complicated process, but they need an instant preparation. So, we have to consume those food items like meatballs, sausages after an instant preparation. Those are various type of preserved food used in our daily life. Now, I am going to give you two questions. First one is, what are the advantages of food preservation and processing? When we are talking about advantages, we can't forget about the disadvantages, right? So, my second question is, what are the disadvantages of food preservation? Now, we are going to talk about advantages and disadvantages of food preservation separately. Advantages of food preservation. Now, let us see what are the advantages we get through the food preservation. Number 1, prevention of food spoilage. The food spoilage is prevented. It is minimized by food preservation. Then ability of preparing the same source of food in different ways. According to our appetite, we can consume the same food in different ways. So, ability of preparing the same source of food in different ways, that is important. Then ability to impart an attractive look for food. The look of a food is very important in consumption. So, the ability to impart an attractive look for the food is very important in food preservation. It is an advantage. Ability to keep the food items for off-season consumption. You know that there are certain type of food items, they can be consumed in one season of the year or 2 seasons of the year. Then the ability to keep the food items for off-season consumption. Then minimizing the damage caused by microorganisms. You know these things, minimizing the damage caused by microorganisms, and the ability of increasing the nutritional values of food types, especially like yogurt, cheese. The nutritional value of food items can be increased by preservation because different substances are added while preservation. So, the nutritional value can be enhanced. It is a good thing. It is considered as an advantage. Now, let us discuss about the disadvantages of food preservation. Risk of causing diseases due to artificial additives such as flavors and colorings. You know, the flavors and colorings can be added to a food item while preservation, but overdosages, if we are not using the recommended dosage, that will lead diseases. Second one, possibility of destroying the nutritional value of the food item. There is a high possibility of destroying the nutritional value of a food item while preservation. Possibility of change in the characteristics of food items like flavor, smell and color, right. Sometimes the preserved food item may be totally different from the fresh food. So, there is a possibility of change in the characteristics of food like flavor, smell and color. This is the main disadvantage, that is loss of desire for natural food. So, if we are used to have preserved food for a long time, loss of desire for natural food and getting used to instant food consumption may take place. Right. Now, I am going to explain you about different things, different information given on a label of a food item. You may have observed the labels of food items. Certain facts are given on the food item labels. The main thing is the date of manufacture and the date of expiry. When we are buying a food item, when we are selecting a food item, we have to check the date of manufacture and the date of expiry. It is compulsory. The net weight and the total weight, it is mentioned on the label. And a standard, I have given you 2 pictures of labels of standard. Details of the manufacture and environment and consumer friendliness of the wrapper. The wrapper is very important in packing preserved food items. So, the wrapper should be environment friendly and environment and consumer friendliness of the wrapper. Right. Now, I want to assess whether you learnt what I taught you. To assess your knowledge, I have given you an activity. Put a tick if the statement is correct and put a cross if the statement is incorrect. Let us see. Fresh fish is a food which spoils faster. Correct or wrong? Yes, very good. fresh fish is a food which spoils faster. It is correct. Then you have to put the tick mark. Second one, there is no possibility of destroying the vitamins and other nutrition in the preservation of food. Is it correct or wrong? Is there any possibility of destroying vitamins and other nutritional substances while the preservation? Let us see the answer. That is wrong. The answer is wrong. Look at the third one. Only super grade plastics can be used to pack food. Right? We can't use all the types of plastics to pack the food. Only super grade plastics can be used to pack food. It is correct. Look at the fourth one. Meatballs and sausages are pre-cooked food. Then I explained you, there are pre-cooked used by us. Meatballs and sausages are pre-cooked food. That is correct. So, you can compare your answers with my answer. Number 5, monosodium glutamate, we can shorten it as MSG, is a food preservative. Is it a food preservative or flavor enhance? It is not a food preservative, it is a chemical substance that is used to enhance the flavor of a food item. Number 5, monosodium glutamate, the shortened form is MSG, is a food preservative. Is it a food preservative? No, that is not a food preservative. It is a substance used to enhance the flavor of food items. Right. Today, I discussed about food preservation. The food preservation is a very important topic as there is a big food wastage is occurring in the world. I discussed about different methods of food preservation. What are the traditional and modern methods of food preservation? I think that you could learn many things through the lesson. If you have got any doubt, you can refer your textbook and you can ask from your teacher. You can prepare some short notes when you are free by looking at your textbook. Thank you very much for joining with the lesson. Be safe and goodbye.